What if I told you that the very society that spent decades telling men they were toxic, unnecessary, and the root of all problems is now quietly panicking because those same men have simply stopped showing up? What if the collapse we're watching unfold isn't some dramatic apocalypse with fire and chaos, but something far more subtle and devastating? Millions of men choosing peace over participation, relaxation over rescue, and their own sanity over a system that openly hates them? Stay with me until the very end, because by the time we're done here, you'll see exactly why no amount of shaming, begging, or guilt tripping will ever bring these men back to the plantation, and why that terrifying reality is only just beginning to dawn on everyone who thought they could build a world without us. If you're getting value from this, smash that like button right now. Share this video with every man you know who needs to hear this truth, and subscribe for more unfiltered angry guy content that the mainstream will never dare touch. And listen, if you're tired of being financially vulnerable in this collapsing economy, if you want to learn how to actually protect your assets, build real wealth, and master buying, selling, and trading crypto the right way without getting wrecked by scams or emotions, then you need to check out Angry's Crypto Academy right now. The link is in the description below. Go click it, enroll, and start taking control of your financial future today. You won't regret it. Let me paint a picture for you, because this didn't happen overnight. This was decades in the making. Go back 20, 30 years. Men were the backbone. We built the roads, wired the buildings, fought the wars, paid the taxes, kept the lights on. And when something broke, we fixed it. We didn't complain. We didn't demand parades. We just did what needed to be done, because that's what men do. We showed up every single day. Rain, snow, economic crash, personal tragedy, didn't matter. Men showed up. Then something shifted, slowly at first, then all at once. We were told our natural strength was toxic, our directness was aggression, our desire to lead, protect, and provide was patriarchal oppression. Universities started pumping out generations of young women convinced that men were the enemy. Media amplified it. Politicians weaponized it for votes. Corporations jumped on board because strong men don't make good, compliant consumers. And the simps, oh, the simps, those poor lost souls who thought if they just betrayed their brothers hard enough, maybe, just maybe, they'd get a crumb of attention in return. They called us deadbeats if we didn't want to slave away 60 hours a week for a pat on the head. They called us losers if we didn't want to sign our lives away to marriages where the deck was stacked against us from day one. They called us incels if we dared point out that something was deeply wrong with how modern dating had become a rigged game where average men were expected to bring everything while getting nothing but contempt in return. And what happened? Men listened, not all at once, not in some organized movement with leaders and manifestos. No, it was quieter than that, more devastating than that. Men simply started walking away. They walked away from college when they realized the degrees were worthless and the environment was openly hostile. They walked away from marriage when they saw what happened to their fathers, their brothers, their friends in family court. They walked away from traditional careers when they realized promotions went to diversity hires, and the harder you worked, the more you got taxed to pay for people who hated you. They walked away from dating when they saw the endless entitlement, the dishonesty, the games. They walked away from public spaces that became minefields of false accusations and social media lynch mobs. And where did they go? Home. Their apartments, their basements, their garages, places where they are kings of their own domain, places where nobody can tell them their natural testosterone is a problem, places where they control the thermostat, the TV remote, the rules, places where peace reigns because the only person they have to negotiate with is themselves. These men learned something revolutionary. They don't actually need all the things society told them they needed to be happy. They don't need the corner office. They don't need the white picket fence. They don't need the ungrateful wife and the kids who get weaponized against them. They don't need the status symbols that come with a mortgage sized car payment. What do they need? A decent internet connection, a computer, maybe a gaming setup, some supplements, a gym membership or a home gym, and the skills to make money without ever leaving their sanctuary. Day trading, crypto, drop shipping, content creation, software development, OnlyFans management for the few who went that route, but most importantly, any online business that generates cash flow while they sleep. These men mastered remote income streams that traditional society never even imagined existed 10 years ago. They're sitting there in sweatpants, sipping coffee, watching charts, executing trades, building funnels, coding apps while the world outside burns. No commute, no toxic boss, no HR department waiting to fire them for saying the wrong thing. No mandatory diversity training, no pretending to care about someone else's drama. And the best part, they're thriving. Not just surviving, thriving, bank accounts growing, bodies getting stronger from consistent training with no excuses, minds getting sharper from reading books instead of doom scrolling dating apps, friendships deepening with other men who get it, real brotherhoods forming in private discords and forums where truth can still be spoken without fear. Meanwhile, out there in the real world they abandoned, chaos. Women who were told they could have it all are now discovering that having it all without men willing to provide it for free is exhausting, expensive, and often impossible. The same women who bragged about being independent, about not needing a man, about how they'd rather be alone than settle, are now alone and broke and exhausted and starting to panic as the biological clock ticks louder than their student loan payments. Hot girl summer, that was fun while men were still paying for the drinks, the vacations, the OnlyFans subscriptions, the Uber rides home. But broke girl winter has arrived, and it's not just one season. This is permanent. Corporate jobs that used to be cushy are now soul crushing under incompetent leadership that got promoted for everything except merit. Rents are through the roof because nobody's building anymore, partly because the men who used to do that work walked away from trades that treated them like disposable machines. Dating apps are wastelands where the top 20% of men get all the attention while everyone else gets ghosted or breadcrumbed into oblivion. Crime is spiking in cities because the men who used to informally police their neighborhoods through presence alone have retreated. Public spaces feel unsafe because the natural protectors society demonized are no longer volunteering for that role. The state tries to fill the gap with more laws, more cameras, more taxes, but it's like trying to hold water in your hands. It all leaks out. And the simps, God bless them, they're still trying, still white knighting, still paying for dates with women who openly say they hate men, still defending the indefensible online, still volunteering to be the last line of defense for a society that laughs at them. But even they're starting to wake up, slowly, painfully, one by one, as the reality slaps them across the face. Because here's the thing, nobody wants to say out loud, society doesn't run on hopes and dreams and feminist theory. It runs on male labor, male sacrifice, male invention, male protection. When you spend decades telling men they're the problem and then act shocked when they stop solving problems for you, what did you think was going to happen? Like, did you think the bridges would maintain themselves? That the power grid would stay online through sheer willpower? That innovation would continue when the people most likely to innovate are checked out playing video games and stacking crypto? That order would prevail when the natural enforcers of order have zero incentive to enforce anything anymore. This is what collapse looks like. Not Mad Max, not zombies, just quiet withdrawal. Millions of men opting out, relaxing, watching from the sidelines as the house of cards they were once forced to prop up finally falls under its own weight. And the most delicious part, these men aren't angry anymore. That's the old narrative. The bitter incel in his mom's basement raging at the world. No, these men are at peace, genuinely, profoundly at peace for the first time in their lives. They've discovered that life is actually pretty good when you remove all the obligations that were never appreciated anyway. They're sleeping 8 hours a night. They're eating clean. They're lifting heavy. They're making money in their underwear. Hey guys, in a world pushing you to own nothing and be happy, crypto is your key to survival. Join Angry's Crypto Academy to master buying, selling, and trading crypto. Make huge profits and safeguard your wealth. Plus, discover the one crypto virtually no one is talking about, poised to create new millionaires in the upcoming bull run. The link is in the description of the video below. Go check it out now. They're traveling when they want, where they want, without having to negotiate with anyone. They're building brotherhoods based on mutual respect instead of competition for scarce female attention. They're free. And freedom, real freedom, is the most dangerous thing in the world to a system that depends on unfree men. Because once a man tastes that freedom, once he realizes how good life can be, when he's not constantly jumping through hoops for people who hate him, there's no going back. No amount of shaming will work. No where have all the good men gone articles will work. No crying on TikTok about being 35 and single with 3 cats and a wine habit will work. The good men didn't go anywhere. They just stopped being good for you. They're right here relaxing, watching the show, popcorn in hand. And society is finally starting to realize that when men walk away, everything changes. Not because men are rushing in to destroy things, that's never been our way, but because when men stop holding everything together out of duty, habit, or hope for appreciation that never comes, things simply fall apart on their own. This is the great awakening, not with trumpets and revolutions, but with silence, with absence, with millions of men choosing themselves for the first time ever. And the best part is, it's only just beginning. Let me take you deeper into the story now, because what we're witnessing isn't just a trend, it's a tectonic shift that has been building pressure for generations. And the cracks are finally spreading across the entire surface of society in ways that nobody in power wants to admit out loud. Picture this: a young man in his mid 20s, let's call him Jake. 5 years ago, Jake was exactly where the system wanted him. College degree on his wall, paid for with loans that will haunt him for decades. Entry level corporate job where he showed up early, stayed late, kissed every ring they put in front of him. He was polite, he was eager, he was the good guy every HR video told women they deserved. He had a girlfriend who constantly reminded him that she could do bad all by herself and didn't need him, but somehow still expected him to pay for every date, every vacation, every time her car made a funny noise. Jake watched his father get destroyed in a divorce 20 years earlier, watched his older brother lose his house, his kids, half his income, and his will to live after a marriage that lasted less than a decade. Jake saw the writing on the wall, but he still tried. He still believed if he just worked harder, loved better, provided more, maybe he could be the exception. Then one day it all clicked. He saw a TikTok of his own girlfriend laughing with her friends about how men were trash, how she was only with him because the rent was due in 2 weeks. He saw the promotion he had earned go to a woman who spent half her day on Instagram because diversity. He saw his tax dollars fund programs that openly excluded him because of the color of his skin and the genitals he was born with. He saw the news call men like him potential threats while importing actual threats by the millions. And Jake did something radical. He stopped. He quit the job, not in a dramatic take this job and shove it way, quietly. Gave 2 weeks notice, trained his replacement, a diversity hire who made twice what he did, and walked out on a Friday afternoon without looking back. He moved into a small 1-bedroom apartment on the edge of town where the rent was half what he and his girlfriend were paying together. He sold the truck he didn't need anymore, paid off the credit cards she had maxed out, and closed the joint account. He learned to day trade, started with $5,000 he had saved in secret, spent 6 months blowing up accounts, studying charts until his eyes burned, reading every book, watching every free YouTube video, joining private Discord groups where real traders shared real edges. He learned crypto. Not the meme coin gambling most people think of, but real on-chain analysis, order flow, liquidations, funding rates. He learned to code simple bots that did the boring work while he slept. Within 18 months, Jake was pulling 5 figures a month from his bedroom. No boss, no alarm clock, no performance reviews, no pretending to care about someone's pronouns or weekend plans. Just him, his screens, and the markets that don't care about your gender, your race, or your feelings. The markets only care if you're right or wrong, and Jake learned how to be right far more often than he was wrong. His ex? She's still out there posting strong, independent woman memes while working 2 jobs and living with 3 roommates in their 30s. She still messages him every few months when the rent is due or her car breaks down. But Jake doesn't even read them anymore. He's too busy withdrawing profits, hitting the gym, eating steak he cooked himself, and sleeping like a man who finally owns his time. Multiply Jake by millions, tens of millions. That's what's happening right now today while you're watching this video. These men are in hiding. They're not coping. They're winning quietly, relentlessly winning on terms the old world never prepared them for. Look at the statistics nobody wants to talk about. Marriage rates at all-time lows, birth rates collapsing across the West, male college enrollment in free fall, male labor force participation dropping year after year, record numbers of young men reporting zero sexual activity in the past year, not because they can't, but because they've looked at the cost benefit analysis and decided it's just not worth the risk anymore. The red pill didn't radicalize these men, reality did. Reality showed them that the same women screaming, "I don't need a man," still expect men to change their tires, carry their groceries, pay their bills when the date ends, and risk their lives running into burning buildings. Reality showed them that the same society calling them fragile when they speak up will throw them in a cage for years on a single unproven accusation. Reality showed them that the harder they worked within the system, the more the system punished them for it. So they left the system, not with anger. Anger is what keeps you chained. They left with clarity, with cold, hard mathematical clarity that their time, their energy, their life force is finite. And trading it for anything less than respect, peace, and freedom is the worst deal in human history. And now the consequences are rolling in like a slow motion tsunami. Cities are becoming unlivable for single women, not because of some mythical patriarchy, but because the men who used to make them safe and functional have checked out. Women are posting videos crying about how there are no good men left, while surrounded by the exact kind of men they spent years rejecting for not being 6 foot plus with 6 figures and six-pack abs. They're discovering that being 35 with a master's degree in gender studies and a cat doesn't pay the bills when the men who used to subsidize that lifestyle have learned to say no. The economy itself is starting to buckle under the weight of male withdrawal. Who do you think keeps Amazon's servers running? Who maintains the power grid when storms hit? Who drives the trucks that deliver your DoorDash? Who fixes the pipes when they burst in February? Men, mostly men. And more of those men every day are looking at the risks, the pay, the treatment, and deciding they'd rather learn to trade crypto or build an online business from their couch. Construction projects are delayed years because there aren't enough skilled tradesmen willing to destroy their bodies for wages that haven't kept up with inflation since the 1970s. Tech companies are laying off diversity hires by the thousands because the code doesn't compile on feelings. Entire industries are facing labor shortages, not because there aren't people, but because the people who could do the work have better options now. And the state is panicking quietly behind the scenes. They're rolling out draft registration for women not because of equality, but because they know the men won't show up anymore if World War III kicks off. They're pushing universal basic income pilots, not out of compassion, but because they need to find new ways to extract labor from men who have learned financial independence. They're ramping up the propaganda about how men are lost and need to re engage because the tax base is shrinking as more men go ghost and operate in cash or crypto. But here's the part that keeps me up at night smiling. None of it is working. You can't shame a man who no longer cares about your opinion. You can't guilt a man who has seen behind the curtain and knows the game was rigged from the start. You can't threaten a man with loneliness when he's discovered that peace is infinitely better than drama. You can't lure a man back to the plantation with promises of sex when he's learned that his hand, a good internet connection, and zero risk of false accusation is a far better deal. These men have reached escape velocity. They're not coming back. Ever. And as we move deeper into this new reality, the contrast is only going to become more stark. Women who spent their prime years chasing the top 5% of men are going to hit the wall at 35, 40, 45 and discover that the men they rejected at 25 are now thriving without them and have zero interest in becoming stepfathers to some other guy's kids while funding a lifestyle they never benefited from. The simps who held on the longest are going to watch their heroes, the women they worship from afar, settle for men who treat them exactly like they claimed they hated because those men never gave them a choice to begin with. The nice guys are going to finish last, as always, but this time they're going to finish last while sipping margaritas on a beach in Thailand paid for by crypto gains, not crying in a studio apartment. This is the future. A future where men have reclaimed their time, their peace, their power, and their purpose on their own terms. A future where society either learns to value men again, truly value them, not just use them as utility mules while spitting in their faces, or it continues to collapse under its own contradictions because men walking away isn't the end of the world. It's the end of their world, the one built on male sacrifice without reciprocation, the one built on male labor without respect, the one built on male protection without gratitude. That world is dying, and something new is being born in its place. Something freer, like something stronger, something built by men for men with no apologies and no permission required. And if you're a man watching this right now, I want you to understand something deep in your bones. You don't owe them anything. Not your labor, not your protection, not your taxes, not your life. You were born into a contract you never signed, and walking away isn't betrayal. It's freedom. The collapse isn't your fault. The collapse is what happens when you stop rewarding bad behavior. So relax. Build your fortress, stack your wealth, lift your iron, strengthen your brotherhood, and watch from the mountaintop as the valley below figures out, far too late, that everything they were told was a lie. The strong men weren't the problem. The strong men were the only thing keeping the whole circus running, and now the strong men are gone. Not angry, not broken, and just gone. Living better lives than the old world ever allowed them to imagine. This is only the beginning, my brothers. The great unwinding has only just started. Stay tuned because the next 10 years are going to be the most glorious chaos most of us will ever witness. Let's pull the camera back even further now because what's happening in the West isn't some isolated American phenomenon. It's global, and in some places, it's accelerating even faster than here. Japan has been 25 years ahead of the curve with their herbivore men, the Soshoku Danshi, who checked out of dating, marriage, and corporate slavery back in the early 2000s. The government has spent billions trying to bribe them back into the game. Tax breaks for married couples, free fertility treatments, public shaming campaigns, dating subsidies, you name it. Result? Birth rate still plummeting, marriage rate in free fall, and a whole generation of men who looked at lifelong servitude for ungrateful wives and soul crushing 80-hour work weeks and said, nah, I'll pass. I'll just play Monster Hunter and eat cup noodles in peace. Japan is now importing foreign workers by the millions to keep the lights on because their own men would rather retire at 40 with a paid off condo and a switch than slave away for a society that treats them like ATM machines with expiration dates. South Korea is next in line, only on steroids. Their young men watch their fathers drop dead from overwork at 55, watch their mothers divorce rape their dads the moment the paycheck slowed down, watch the government pass laws that make it illegal for men to even turn off their phones after 6 p.m. in case a woman at the office needs something. So, what did they do? They went 4B: no dating, no marriage, no sex, no kids. They're burning their mandatory military service photos online, moving into one room Goshuans, trading Kospi futures, and stacking Bitcoin, while the women scream about a gender war they started and are now losing spectacularly. Seoul's fertility rate is 0.68. 0.68. That's not a birth rate, that's a rounding error. And the government's response? Arrest 600 men in one weekend for posting memes in private chat rooms. Good luck drafting ghosts, fellas. Even in the Middle East and Latin America, the ripple effects are hitting. Countries that still had strong traditional roles are watching their men discover OnlyFans, crypto trading discords, and the fact that you can live like a king in Thailand or Colombia on $2,000 a month generated from a laptop. Passports are being applied for in record numbers. Men who used to think they had to stay and fix their countries are realizing that no one is coming to save them. So why stick around to be the designated sacrifice? But let's come home because the American collapse is the most delicious to watch up close. Walk into any big corporate office building in a blue city right now. Go on, try it. You'll see floor after floor of women in HR, marketing, diversity and inclusion, middle management, all wondering why nothing gets done anymore. The engineers, mostly remote, are gone. The skilled trades that keep the building running, short staffed by 30, 40, 50%. The IT guys who used to drop everything when Karen couldn't connect to the printer, they all took the buyout and now trade options from a cabin in Idaho. The building is literally falling apart around them. Elevators breaking, HVAC failing, plumbing backing up, and every time they call a contractor, the quote comes back double with the 6 month wait because the men who could fix it are busy renovating their own off grid properties or flipping shipping containers into Airbnb empires. Drive through any major city at night now. Notice anything? The streets are either empty or chaotic. The natural deterrence that used to exist, the unspoken rule that groups of men would step in if things got out of hand, is gone. Those men aren't coming. They're at home, doors locked, security cameras rolling, watching YouTube, and sipping a protein shake. They've done the math. The odds of being called a hero in the news versus being called a vigilante and having your life destroyed are about 1 in 10,000. Not worth it. Let the strong, independent women handle it. They've got pepper spray and girl power, right? Universities are next on the chopping block. Male enrollment has been dropping for a decade, but now it's a cliff dive. The smart ones looked at the price tag, looked at the indoctrination camps, looked at the Title IX star chambers where a single text message can end your life, and said, hard pass. They're learning to code on Udemy for 99 bucks, getting certs, starting businesses, or jumping straight into trades that can't be offshored, trades that are now paying plumbers and electricians 6 figures to show up late and leave early because there's no one else. The university has responded by lowering standards so far that a degree is becoming a punchline, which only accelerates the exodus. Pretty soon, the only men left on campus will be the ones studying nursing or education so they can be surrounded by women, and even those numbers are cratering. The dating market? Forget about it. It's not a market anymore. It's a wasteland with a few oasis resorts for the top tier men who never cared about the rules anyway. The average guy has simply deleted the apps. Cold turkey. No swipe, no match, no endless texting investment for a flake or a situationship. They looked at the data: 80-20 rule on steroids, 50-50 custody at best, alimony, child support, false accusations, the whole nightmare package, and decided that peace is priceless. They're lifting, stacking money, traveling with the boys, and enjoying the highest testosterone levels in generations because they're not stressed out of their minds chasing validation that was never coming. And the women, oh, they're starting to notice the tears are flowing on TikTok now, but they're not the performative ones anymore. These are real. The "where have all the good men gone" videos are being replaced by "I'm 38 and I can't find anyone who wants to commit" confessionals, complete with the shaky voice and the wine glass that's half empty because Uber Eats is too expensive now. The ones who spent their 20s riding the carousel are hitting the wall at 90 miles an hour and discovering that the wall doesn't negotiate. The ones who thought body count didn't matter are finding out that men with options don't want to wife up someone who's been through half the zip code. The ones who said, I don't want kids at 25, are panic Googling egg freezing cost at 35 while realizing their six-figure tech job doesn't buy happiness when the office is empty at 6 p.m. and your cat is the only one waiting at home. The coping mechanisms are glorious to watch. First, it was men are intimidated by my success. Then it was all men are trash. Now it's straight up bargaining. I'll settle for a guy who makes less than me, I swear. Too late, sweetheart. Those guys you friend zoned at 24 are now making more from their laptops in a month than you clear in a quarter, and they're not looking back. Even the simps are breaking. The white knights are running out of armor. The guys who used to rush into comment sections to defend Milady are starting to ask themselves why they're caping for women who wouldn't cross the street to spit on them if they were on fire. One by one, they're getting red pilled the hard way. The girl they orbited for years announces her pregnancy with some deadbeat who treats her like garbage, or they finally work up the courage to ask her out and get laughed at on her close friend's story. The ones who still have some fight left are jumping on testosterone replacement, hitting the gym, deleting social media, and joining the same monasteries of iron and crypto that the early walkers built. And the government, they're terrified. They've started floating ideas like taxing single men extra, forcing remote workers back to offices for mental health, talking about mandatory national service for young men, but not women, of course, because equality. They're trying to shame men back with propaganda pieces about how we're failing to launch or addicted to video games. Bro, I'm 32, net worth 8 figures, deadlift double body weight, and sleep 9 hours a night. Who's failing exactly? Every institution that relied on male compliance is cracking at the seams. The military can't meet recruitment goals with a gun to its head. Police departments are hemorrhaging experienced officers who looked at the defund movement, the kneeling, the constant vilification, and said, yeah, I'll take early retirement and consult privately for triple the pay. Fire departments are begging for volunteers while cities burn trash in the streets because sanitation workers are walking off too. This is what happens when you break the social contract and then act shocked when the other party stops honoring it. Men kept their end for centuries. Protect, provide, build, sacrifice, die quietly so everyone else could live loudly. And in return, contempt, divorce, theft, false accusations, endless shaming, being told our natural instincts were disorders that needed medication, being told our presence was the problem and our absence would be utopia. Well, congratulations. You got your utopia. How's it working out? Because from up here on the mountaintop, it looks like paradise for us anyway. We're healthier, wealthier, happier, stronger, and freer than any generation of men in recorded history. And we did it by doing absolutely nothing except stopping the unpaid labor, stopping the unconditional protection, stopping the endless giving to people who hated us. The collapse isn't our punishment, it's our liberation. And it's only phase one. Phase two is when the men who walked away start building something new. Parallel systems, private cities, network states, brotherhood compounds in the mountains. crypto economies that no government can touch, communities where merit is king, strength is respected, and no one gets canceled for telling the truth. We're already doing it quietly, under the radar. While the old world screams and cries and demands we come back to save it. But we're not coming back. We're moving forward into a future we control, a future without the parasites, the leeches, the ungrateful, the entitled, a future where a man's worth is measured by what he can build, not what he's willing to give away for free. So let them cry, let them rage. Let them realize far too late that everything they were promised was a lie and the men they discarded were the prize all along. We'll be over here, relaxed, ripped, rich, free, watching the sunset with a cold one, surrounded by brothers who earned their place. And when the last light flickers out down in the valley, we'll raise a glass, not in anger, not in vengeance, just in quiet acknowledgement that the era of male slavery is finally, mercifully over. And the era of male freedom has only just begun. Now, let me show you what this looks like in real time, because as I record this on November 19th, 2025, the tears, the coping, and the frantic backpedaling are reaching levels that even I didn't expect to see this quickly. Just last week, a viral TikTok went past 18 million views. A 36-year-old former marketing executive, very pretty in that filtered, filler heavy way, sitting in her leased Audi that's two payments behind, sobbing into the camera. I have a master's degree. I make six figures. I'm kind. I go to therapy. I love to travel. And I cannot find a man who will commit. What is wrong with men these days? Comments turned off within an hour because the ratio was biblical. Men simply posting screenshots of her old tweets calling men trash, short men cope, bald men seethe, and her saying at 28 that any guy who made under 200,000 wasn't worth her time. The wall doesn't send warnings. It arrives fully constructed and painted with every mean thing you ever said when you thought you were winning. Over on Reddit, the female dating strategy subreddit finally got quarantined and then private after years of open hatred. The moderates fled, the radicals doubled down, and now it's a ghost town, echo chamber of women in their 40s giving each other advice on how to train a man they haven't met yet. Meanwhile, the male subreddits they used to mock for bitterness are full of vacation photos from Bali, Dubai, Medellin, Tbilisi, groups of 28-year-old dudes with fresh haircuts, deep tans, and deeper bank accounts, grinning on yachts they chartered with crypto gains while the women back home argue about who gets custody of the wine fridge. The passport bro phenomenon has gone from meme to mainstream crisis. American women are now making passport cis content, warning each other not to go to Colombia, Thailand, Philippines, or Brazil because the men only want you for a green card. Translation: local men who grew up without the feminist indoctrination took one look at American women online and decided they'd rather stay single than import that energy. So now the same women who bragged about being global citizens are mad that foreign men looked at their attitudes, their body counts, their OnlyFans side hustles, and politely said, "No, thank you, I'll keep fishing." Even Europe is waking up to the same script on fast forward. France just passed a law giving women extra retirement points for each child they have because the birth rate is in free fall and the pension system is months from implosion. French men looked at the deal. Work until you drop, pay 60% taxes, watch your wife divorce you at 45, and take the kids to Martinique with your money, and said, no. They're moving to Spain, Portugal, Hungary, anywhere the taxes are lower, and the women still smile. When a man opens a door, Paris nightclubs that used to be packed with local guys buying bottles are now 80% tourists, and the women are filming themselves, complaining that French men have lost their masculinity. No, darling, French men just stopped subsidizing women who hate them. Back home, the housing market is giving us a front row seat to the apocalypse. Single women became the fastest growing group of home buyers from 2018 to 2023 because interest rates were low and they were told, buy the house, the man will follow. Rates shot up, layoffs hit the girl boss sectors first: HR, marketing, nonprofit, industrial complex. And now Zillow is flooded with 2021 to 2022 purchases listed at a loss by women who can't afford the mortgage on one income and can't find a man willing to move in and help pay for their independence. Redfin just reported the highest number of accidental landlords in history. Women who bought at the top can't sell without wrecking their credit and now have to rent the place to a group of 25-year-old day traders who pay rent in Bitcoin and use the walk in closet as a home gym. The trades are the gift that keeps on giving. HVAC companies are booking out 4 months in advance in most major cities. A plumber in Texas just posted a TikTok showing his schedule. $14,000 gross this week, cash. Works 4 days, fishes the other three. Comment section full of women whining that men only care about money. No, sweetheart, men always cared about money. We just used to pretend we didn't because we were told love was enough. Turns out love doesn't pay for the boat. Corporate America is quietly having a nervous breakdown. Boeing can't build planes that don't fall apart because the old white guys who knew how to do it retired or got pushed out for DEI hires who can't read blueprints. Disney's last 5 movies bombed so hard, they're now fast tracking live action remakes of things nobody asked for because the creative pipeline is empty. The men who used to write those stories either got canceled or walked away to make YouTube channels with 10 times the audience and no studio notes. Bud Light still hasn't recovered. Gillette is a punchline. The message was received loud and clear. Insult your core customer, watch him vanish forever. And the simps? The last battalion is falling. OnlyFans revenue is down 40% year over year because the guys who were paying $200 a month to chat with a girl who didn't know they existed finally woke up, canceled the subscriptions, and used the money to buy a used Porsche instead. The top 1% of creators are still printing, but the mid tier, just pay my bills girls are panic posting on Twitter about how men don't want to provide anymore. Correct. We want to provide for ourselves and the tiny circle of people who actually respect us. You're not in that circle. The government is out of moves. They tried the men are lonely and lost narrative, didn't work. They tried the men are dangerous incels narrative, backfired spectacularly. They're trying the economic anxiety narrative now, floating ideas like taxing childless adults, read men, to pay for maternity leave expansions. Good luck collecting from guys who live on crypto cold wallets and haven't filed a W 2 in 5 years. Military recruitment is so dire, they just dropped the tattoo policy, the marijuana policy, the ASVB score requirements, and they're still missing goals by double digits. The Army's new slogan might as well be, please, someone and anyone show up. Meanwhile, private military contractors are paying ex special forces guys $2,000 a day to guard Bitcoin mines in El Salvador. Guess which one young men are picking? Even the churches are collapsing. The same denominations that spent 20 years telling men to man up and marry the single moms are shocked that attendance is 65% female now. The men didn't lose faith in God. They lost faith in institutions that hate them and use scripture as a weapon to extract more labor. And through all of this, the walked away men are quieter than ever. No gloating, no parades, just steady, relentless building, private gyms and warehouses where men train in silence and leave stronger. Discords with 10,000 members sharing trading edges, real estate deals, tax strategies, and zero female drama. Compounds in Idaho, Texas, Montana, where families who made it out early are raising kids with 2 parents who actually like each other, teaching them skills instead of indoctrination. Crypto keeps pumping because every time another institution fails, another wave of men converts their fiat to hard money they control. Gym memberships are at all-time highs. Testosterone clinics can't keep up with demand. Barbershops that play 90s hip hop and don't allow female clients are booked solid. Cigar lounges are packed with 29-year-olds who look 40 in the best way possible. And this isn't a phase, like, this isn't coping. This is the new normal. A world where men have finally, after thousands of years, said enough and meant it. A world where peace is the default setting and chaos is something you watch on a screen from a safe distance. A world where your time, your energy, your seed, your money, your protection, your attention are no longer free. They must be earned. And almost nobody left in the old system is willing to pay the price. So the collapse accelerates and the men relax harder. They lift heavier, they stack faster, they laugh louder, they sleep deeper because for the first time in history, a critical mass of men looked at the contract, tore it up, and discovered that life without the chains is not just better, it's goddamn glorious. And it's only getting started. 10 more years of this, and the old world won't just be broken, it will be forgotten, replaced by something leaner, stronger, truer, built by men who learned the ultimate lesson: no one is coming to save you. So save yourself, then save your brothers, then sit back and watch the fireworks. Because all roads lead to MWA, men walking away. The freest, strongest, happiest generation of men this planet has ever seen. Now, I want to hear from you. What did you think about everything we just went through? Do you agree? Do you see this playing out in your own city, your own life? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. No filter. Say what needs to be said. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away, and cheers.
Nothing says you care like crypto. Nothing can compare. Nothing says you care like crypto. Oh, nothing can compare to crypto.